The New Orleans Pelicans had a busy offseason. Well, earlier today, the Saints brought in 6 wide receivers for a workout. And Coach Ed Ogeron's group has been the biggest surprise so far this college football season.
The only bump in the road, I may have fallen off his float when Carly and I and our photographer.
Reporting from the Saints practice facility, I'm Carly McCord for WDSU News. Reporting from the Saints practice facility, I'm Carly McCord for WDSU News.
She was a force of nature. Like, you could not ignore Carly McCord.
We've seen her around all the time. What an outstanding young lady with a bright future. It's just a shame it happened.
Her smile was infectious, her drive inspirational.
Our Carly McCord got to the heart with interviews and made athletes roar with laughter.
And tonight, the Tigers roared to victory in her honor.
I was the one that had to tell Coach.
LSU's offensive coordinator coaching a win amid the heartbreak.
Just goes to show you the integrity and the grit and character of men on our football team.
And tonight, the sports world and Louisiana remembers a woman small in stature who made a big impact on us all.
As we mourn the loss of others gone too soon.
Well, good evening. Tonight at 10, with heavy hearts, we remember the life of Carly McCord, a talented sports journalist killed in a plane crash this morning.
We'll have more on the crash and the others who lost their lives in just a moment. But first, WDSU's Fletcher Mackle takes a look back at a promising career that ended too soon.
That's right, Sharif. Well, a lot of storylines go into this match.
Charismatic, personable, and always professional, Carly McCord could light up a room with her smile. The 30-year-old spent the past 2 years working in our sports department here at Channel 6, covering some of the area's biggest teams in its largest sporting events, from the Pelicans to LSU and the New Orleans Saints. Carly was even at the Saints team facility on Friday, covering a major breaking sports story.
For a workout, and it was no secret that one of them was former league member Antonio Brown.
Interview after interview, Carly's personality always shined through. From Saint stars to the average fan, she was a rising star in sports media in Louisiana. Carly could not only be seen here on WDSU, but she also served as a sideline reporter for local college broadcasts and served as a game day host for the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans.
Everyone's going to be talking about that blown call for a long time.
Born and raised in Baton Rouge, Carly graduated from Northwestern State in Natchitoches, where she was Miss Northwestern State. And then later, she received a second degree in broadcast journalism from LSU. She was married to Steve Ensminger Jr., the son of LSU offensive coordinator Steve Ensminger. She's survived by her husband, family, and friends.
And Fletcher, we were talking about someone who can make an impact. Clearly, we are devastated here at WDSU. The LSU family devastated. Northwestern State, we've heard from them. We've heard from athletes and, you know, just a whole bunch of people in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, and I think that shows you the impact that she made. Alvin Gentry, prior to the Pelicans game tonight, was talking about how infectious her smile was, and that's just who she was. Everybody wanted to be her friend. She was this ball of energy that was just always so happy and so positive. You wanted to be around her. She was such a good person. I told you all this during an earlier newscast. It's still hard for me to kind of come to terms with because I am a hyper and energetic person, and so is she. So we kind of became kindred spirits, if you will. And over the next few days, I know it's going to be hard because out of force of habit, I'm going to go to call her or to text her, and I realize life has changed forever, and it's just truly sad and tragic.
Absolutely. You mentioned it in the tribute a couple of minutes ago, her work ethic. A lot of people don't realize how much work goes in every day in sports broadcasting. You know, you might see 2 minutes of a finished product, but it takes all day. So that, with what she did here and with the Pelicans, with the Saints, I mean, she did a lot on average day.
Without question, one of the hardest working people I've been around. Sharif Ishak, who also works here in sports, has been around. She worked for us, for Cox Sports, for ESPN3, for radio stations, for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. She was just tremendous. I'll say one more thing. A couple of years ago, our news director, Akili Franklin, said that we have to find a sports journalist who's passionate, who's smart, who's great on TV, who's personable, who's got a flexible schedule. And I thought we'll never find this unicorn, but we did, because she was great and she checked every box, and she was a great asset to us, and she will truly be missed.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Fletcher. Well, Carly was among 5 people killed in that plane crash.
The Lafayette Fire Department released the names of all of the victims killed. Ian Briggs was on that plane. He was 51 years old. Robert Crisp, the second, was 59 years old. Officials say 51-year-old Gretchen Vincent and her 15-year-old son, Michael Vincent, also died. Well, right now, investigators in Lafayette are trying to piece together what led up to the crash.
WDSU reporter Casey Ferran joins us from that scene tonight, where she talked to a witness about what they saw.
It was a horrifying scene for witnesses who saw that plane come crashing down and burst into flames. But one of those witnesses was compelled to help.
And by the time I got there, it exploded.
Brandon Chevalier was at work when a plane came crashing down.
I just see flames everywhere. So I start to run down, it's just a big explosion. Then I hear a man screaming for help. Like, by the time we got to him, he was out, but he was 100% burnt from head to toe.
The plane left the Lafayette Regional Airport shortly after 9 Saturday morning, headed for an airport right outside of Atlanta. Minutes after takeoff, it made an emergency landing in an empty field next to a post office. Chevalier says it hit a utility pole and 2 parked cars before crashing and bursting into flames.
What made you just stop and run in there?
I mean, he needed help, you know what I'm saying? I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know if he was dead or he was alive. My first thing is, go help.
He later found out the man's name, 37-year-old Stephen Burzis, the only survivor of the crash.
He was trying to get up and he fell, so me and another gentleman, we picked him up, we carried him away, and all he just wanted to call his wife. Tell my wife I'm okay. So he was coherent. He looked like he was more shocked than anything. He used my phone, he called his wife, he spoke to his wife.
Chevalier says he's still haunted by seeing the other victims die.
The fire was still on them, and there's nothing we could do.
And a part of you wishes there was more you could do.
Honest, that's the thing. It's like, maybe if I didn't hesitate, maybe I could have saved him, or, was he dead on impact? Like, it was so much, and the thing, I heard the screams, and I don't know where the screams was coming from, and then the screams stopped.
Still no word on what caused this crash, but the NTSB did arrive here late this evening to begin their investigation into the crash. Reporting in Lafayette, I'm Casey Ferrand, WDSU News.
Carly is the daughter-in-law of LSU offensive coordinator Steve Ensminger. She was heading to the Peach Bowl in Atlanta with friends to watch LSU play Oklahoma.
WDSU Sharif Isaac and Jennifer Crockett join us now live from Atlanta as the team, her fellow sports journalists, react to her passing. Good evening, Sharif and Jennifer.
Hey there, Gina. Yeah, Carly, we learned about Carly's death earlier today when we got to the stadium to cover the Peach Bowl. And this game just became secondary, and a lot of the oxygen was just sucked out of the stadium. A lot of the media members were just in shock and disbelief and very sad this entire day, and it's still a lot of people are grieving right now, Jennifer.
Right, as are we. And, as journalists, all we wanted to do was make Carly proud tonight, and so we just went to work. And Sharif was wonderful, and you shared your stories with me, as did other journalists, to try and share Carly's story with you, even in the midst of this tragedy.
Absolutely heartbroken.
I'm truly going to miss her. She was just a great soul.
Just can't believe she's gone.
The crash of a small plane in Lafayette has left a big void in the WDSU team.
We come on air this evening with news we simply wish was not true. A precious member of our WDSU News team, whose voice always made you smile and whose spunky personality as a sports journalist could put even the toughest athletes in their place, has passed away.
Carly McCord was so much more than a sports reporter. And it's safe to say Coach Ed Ogeron's group has been the biggest surprise.
She was a force in nature. Like, you could not ignore Carly McCord.
Carly is not only a co-worker, but a close friend. I'm a season ticket holder for the Pelicans, so every time I go to the game, she's on the big screen.
She loved football. She loved her job. She loved everything she was doing. She was always happy, always willing to learn. She was such a great person. There was nothing absolutely negative about her.
LSU's victory at the Peach Bowl not overshadowing Carly's death, because Carly was family. She married Steve Ensminger Jr., the son of LSU's offensive coordinator, in 2018.
So we've seen her around all the time. What an outstanding young lady with a bright future. It's just a shame it happened.
You could tell by just one person walking up to the next person, and their face was long. And it was just a quiet moment, and then there would be a hug.
But positivity defined Carly. It was in her DNA.
It's tragic, but she'll be missed, and everyone should celebrate her life because she was a great person, a really great person and a hard worker.
And so Carly leaves us with these last words, the lyrics posted on Instagram: "Only rainbows after rain, the sun will always come again." And Sharif, another big point about Carly that we absolutely have to mention is that she was a huge advocate to help other upcoming female sports journalists break into this business. Carly worked really, really hard to get right here, and she earned everyone's respect because of it.
She was on her way to come watch this game. You know, she would have been very proud. LSU, you know, did its job. You know, they're moving on to the national championship game. They put up record numbers. They won the game 63-28, almost 700 yards of offense. Joe Burrow had 7 touchdowns, Peach Bowl record. Justin Jefferson, 4 receiving touchdowns. You know, that's a Peach Bowl record. And a big reason behind all those records is their offensive coordinator, Steve Ensminger. What more can you say about the job he did in this game? Coaching with a very heavy heart. Coach O even saying there was never a single doubt about him coaching in this game.
I was the one that had to tell Coach, and here's what I told him. I told him what happened, and here's what he said. Coach, we're going to get through this. And obviously he was distraught, but he called a great game today, so just goes to show you the integrity and the grit and character of the men on our football team.
He's a strong guy for that. I mean, he didn't have to come out there and coach, but what he did shows that what type of person he is and the type of strength and heart that he has.
It shows how much he cares about the team, how much he cares about us. You know, he was talking to Coach O, and the first thing he said to him was, we're going to get through this. You know, and he went out there and called a hell of a game, and we played a hell of a game, and you know, just says a lot about him.
Most of the LSU players didn't find out until after the game. Tight end Thaddeus Moss even said Ensminger was emotional, something he hasn't seen out of his offensive coordinator.
Obviously, I've seen him yell and stuff, but emotional like that, nah, it's the first time. I'm pretty sure as soon as the game was over, he came into the locker room. I was trying to find him on the field, but he wasn't out there. You know, him and his family was going through a hard time.
I was definitely telling myself, and I told a few other people, you know, this for Coach E. It's great to get a win for him and his family, and we're praying for him.
And Jennifer, I think Steve Ensminger did what Carly probably wanted him to do: show up to this game, coach this offense, get a big win, and lead them to the national championship game, and hopefully win that national championship. So I'm sure she's watching down on Coach Ensminger and everybody else, and probably proud of her father-in-law after tonight's game.
I think that's 100% right. Well, we're also thinking about the Ensminger family and the McCord family tonight, you know, as we try to heal and remember Carly. Live in Atlanta with Sharif Ishak, I'm Jennifer Crockett, WDSU News.
Thanks, guys. Our coverage continues both on air and online. You can find more on Carly's life at WDSU.com or on our mobile app.
Chief Media.
Welcome back. Tonight we remember our cherished colleague, sports reporter Carly McCord. She died after a plane traveling to the LSU game in Atlanta crashed.
And that plane took off from the Lafayette Regional Airport just after 9 this morning, but it went down shortly after taking off and crashed in a field near a post office. Carly was among the 5 people killed, including 51-year-old pilot Ian Biggs, 59-year-old Robert Crisp, 51-year-old Gretchen Vincent, and her 15-year-old son Michael Vincent, who's not pictured. There was one survivor, 37-year-old Stephen Wade Burzas, on board the plane. He is in critical condition tonight.
And we are dealing with this great loss here at WDSU. Our president and general manager, Joel Vilmanet, released a statement saying, quote, "We are devastated by the loss of such an amazing talent and valued member of our WDSU family. Carly's passion for sports journalism and her deep knowledge of Louisiana sports from high school to the professional ranks made her an exceptional journalist. As we reflect on her impressive body of work, we offer our deepest condolences to her family."
In addition to covering the LSU team, Carly also covered the Saints as part of our Saints on 16.
That's right. A fellow Saints analyst tweeted about the time they spent working together. He tweeted this video behind the scenes of their photo shoot. We're talking about Roman Harper saying, "Man, what a tragedy today on a day where so many should be celebrating and being thankful for so much of what we have. Instead, today we lost a great one. Beautiful person, amazing spirit, and wonderful soul who always kept it real. Carly, you will be missed tremendously, girl."
Yeah, very good. And current Saints players expressing their condolences. One of Carly's final posts on Twitter was about Teddy Bridgewater. She wrote, "The world needs more Teddys." He retweeted a photo of them saying, "Wow, rest in peace, Carly." But we agree about something that we've been saying here today. The world needs more Carlys.
Absolutely. Michael Thomas also posted on social media saying, quote, "So sad to hear the news about Carly McCord. She was always very excited and happy." Thomas saw her reporting for us just yesterday as he was leaving the Saints training facility. Thomas went on to write, "Life is short, and I really wish that there was something I could do." Carly was also known off the court for her beauty inside and out.
Miss Louisiana posted on Facebook, quote, "Carly was a great contestant from 2009 to 2013, and she continued to keep up with the Miss Louisiana pageant each year. Our love and sympathy go out to the McCord and Insminger families during this difficult time," end quote.
And Carly was also a member of Tri Sigma sorority at Northwestern State University. The school's Greek Life organization tweeted, quote, "She always served as a wonderful example of our Greek community and will be greatly missed," end quote. And we continue to remember our colleague and our friend Carly McCord and the 4 other lives lost today on WDSU.com and on our mobile app.
In other news tonight, the NOPD is investigating a second homicide on the same street in Central City in the past 24 hours. Police say it happened around 3:30 today in the 1600 block of South Liberty Street. Officials found the victim shot, lying on the ground. He later died at the hospital. 2 other men also went to separate hospitals after being shot. Investigators are trying to figure out if those shootings are related.
Well, new at 10, the St. Bernard Parish Sheriff's Office needs help identifying a person of interest in an armed robbery. Take a look at your screen. Officials believe that this man may have information on the incident that happened at a restaurant called Barker's Dozen, on St. Bernard Highway. It happened just about 11:30 last night. Authorities say a man went into the business with a gun in hand and demanded cash from the register. Investigators say the man pictured here went into the store right before the robbery happened.
And the NOPD also investigating a string of car burglaries in Lakeview. Neighbors tell WDSU that 10 vehicles were burglarized overnight on Orleans and 5 on Argonne. People in the area, they say that they're fed up and they're asking for help.
The mayor says not to chase these juveniles because they could have guns, and might not be worth for the cops to chase the kids with burglarized cars. So it's not worth their time of getting hurt potentially. But I mean, honestly, it's just, I guess, people checking their cameras, and just hopefully the citizens can just catch these kids and just cops be more aware of what's going on in this area.
If you have any information on any of these crimes, you can call Crime Stoppers, and your call will remain anonymous at 504-822-1111.
All right, to weather now. It was kind of muggy earlier. We saw some fog out. Temperatures right at the 70-degree mark.
Yeah, let's go to meteorologist Daniel Graves. He can tell us what we can expect for the next 12 hours or so.
Yeah, there's going to be some big changes coming. It's been warm. It's going to be cold as we go toward early next week. We've got some rainfall also to deal with going into Sunday evening, as our cold front will be arriving around that time. Also want to talk about a dense fog advisory. It's in effect until noon tomorrow. If you're going to be traveling between now and then, you could run into some fog with visibility below a mile. It could be below a quarter of a mile at times. There are restrictions on the causeway, 45 miles per hour right lane only on both sides. If you're going to be taking the causeway tonight or going into the morning, may want to check those restrictions once again. Visibility down to under 2 miles at the lakefront, and these have been fluctuating throughout the night and will continue to do so as we go into the early morning hours and into around lunchtime. We'll continue to see those visibilities reduced, starting to improve though as we go after the noon hour. Also, a cold front is going to be on the way, and that's going to increase some rain chances for us as we go later into the day on Sunday. I think they'll be pretty spotty as we go into the morning, not too much rainfall around. So if you do have some outdoor plans or are going to be traveling, not too much in the way of impacts from any heavier rain, but you'll still have the fog around as well. Then going into the afternoon, 1 o'clock, more spotty showers out ahead of the front, and then as it continues to build into our area, by 7 o'clock is when we'll start to see this rainfall moving through. However, it's weakening it a lot as it moves through. So this may just be some light to moderate rain and some slightly gusty winds, although we can't rule out the potential for a strong to severe storm. But it looks like the main severe weather threat is going to stay off toward the north. But the time frame to be concerned with will be as we go toward about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon till about 9 to 10 o'clock before this front sweeps out, and then we get some drier and colder air in going into early next week. And so it'll be a chillier end to the year, with temperatures dropping into the 40s as we welcome in 2020. So rainfall estimates are on the light side. The heavier rain to the north, less than 1/2 of an inch for most areas. But if you do get some locally heavy rain, then that could add up pretty quickly up to an isolated inch of rainfall. 50% rain chance tomorrow, and then we dry out as we go into early next week. And then I also mentioned those temperatures dropping, a high of 76 tomorrow. We're in the 60s Monday through Wednesday, lower humidity. And then as we go into the night is when it gets real chilly. So by 10 o'clock Tuesday night, that's New Year's Eve, we're in the 40s on both sides of the lake, also going at the midnight hour, welcoming 2020 with some chilly temperatures starting out into the 40s Wednesday morning. So your 7-day forecast showing we get through the rain on Sunday. It gets colder with some sunshine through New Year's, and then more rain chances arrive toward the end of the week.
Daniel, thank you. Well, coming up, we continue to remember WDSU sports reporter Carly McCord.
See how the teams that she covered are paying tribute to her when we come back.
Everything he did was a hit. I am happy.
Eddie looked like he wasn't trying.
Sometimes I make a break out in the cold.
Tonight, the New Orleans Pelicans pay tribute to our beloved sports reporter Carly McCord.
That's right. The team held a moment of silence for Carly before the game against the Indiana Pacers at the Smoothie King Center. The Pelicans and the Saints also sent out a statement on behalf of Gail Benson and the entire organization, saying in part that Carly was a valued member of both our New Orleans Saints and New Orleans Pelicans family as an in-game host, and her infectious personality and knowledge of both of the teams entertained our fans. Carly and 4 others died in a plane crash in Lafayette this morning. They were headed to the LSU game in Atlanta. Carly was the daughter-in-law of LSU offensive coordinator Steve Ensminger. She was 30 years old.
She'll definitely be missed here. You can find out more about Carly and the other victims in this crash online at WDSU.com. Have a good night.
The celebration hits the streets before the teams take the field. Join WDSU for the 5th annual All-State Sugar Bowl New Year's Eve Parade. Coverage starts at 3 on WDSU. Sponsored by the Louisiana Office of Tourism. Feed your soul. Do you have a story for WDSU to investigate? Call or email us today.